Shalom, balance, paradise, all back in the lab one more again. And as you can see, I got the sibling back with me, special guest, Randy RudeBwoy Brown, Spanish Town native, residing in the wilderness of North America now. Back on the broadcast one more again. Welcome back, sibling.
Yes. Thanks for having me again, man. Appreciate it.
You're most welcome, man. It's been too long. It's been too long. Lots has been happening. So I thought we gotta reach out, get you back on so we can, unpeel some of these layers, especially in regards to this current pandemic and stuff. And, being a mixed martial artist, UFC fighter and stuff, I wanted to get it firsthand and really understand, overstand, and understand, the fight game in the current climate. So, 2020 came. It's almost gone now and stuff. I think everyone had some real big plans and some real different ideas for 2020.
2020 just drape up everybody and send everybody beer box up and kick up. Basically, that's what that was.
Definite, man. Definitely. It's turned everything on its head. So how have you been coping, post February, March with this crazy news? I mean, how has it affected you, and how have you kind of dealt with it?
Well, it's affected me in a major way, just like I'm sure it's affected everyone else in a major way. The way that we cope with it is the way that we cope with anything, and the way that we can cope with anything in life, right? It's just kind of pivot, man. You have to pivot. So we pivoted and kind of just roll with the punches, as they say. So we're dealing with it. We're dealing with it as the best we can, but it is what it is.
Yes, very much so. Everything in life is subject to change. I mean, I don't think, as I said, I don't think anyone sort of anticipated, what was to take place and what is happening, and ultimately the effects. I mean, economy-wise, you've got gyms that have just about been open in the UK as of the middle of July, I think it was, the 25th or something like that. You've got some industries that still haven't, really fully opened as of yet. So on an economic level, on a mental level, on every kind of level you can think of, this is affecting people. Give us some keys. Give us some potential keys for the mental wellness. How have you been able to keep your mental going, and obviously, your family as well? I mean, how has that all been balanced out?
Well, for me, mostly as a fighter, everything I do is fighting. I eat, sleep, drink, all mixed martial arts, all fighting, and for me to be successful, I feel like that has to be the way I go about it. The downsides to that is that's all you do, and if one thing doesn't go right, then you kind of you could fall off the rails, because you can get it a loss or something may not go your way. Something that doesn't go your way may affect you way more than it would normally a normal person who's not obsessed with it, So for me, it's balance. And for what I had to do is, during the pandemic, I realized I had more time now, so in between my training sessions, I had time. I had to find other things to do. And what I did with that is I built a computer. I gave, I just locked in on that and decided, hey, I'm gonna build a PC. I like to play video games. So played some video games and just got good at that. I started streaming. I started a podcast, all those kind of good stuff, so you just got to kind of just find other things to put divide your focus a little bit,
Yes, you utilize your time in other avenues, positive avenues, and try and channel creativity and your ideas into other areas. So you're talking about technology. So clearly you've got a mind, and you've got hands as well, which are able to construct and put together a gaming PC. What kind of games are you into? What kind of games are you playing on Twitch?
Man, I'm playing everything. I'm the normal, the generic Call of Duty. Everybody playing Call of Duty, but I'm also playing a game now that just came out called The Mortal Shell. I'm playing Rogue Company. I'm playing PUBG, uh, shooters, hack and slashes. I'm a violent man, so it's all about the violence.
Definite. Oh man, the genre of those shoot 'em ups, the genre of those shoot 'em ups and all that has become well, and slashing and those. I guess what you call them, first player.
First person, like first person shooters. So first person is where you just see the gun, so it's as if
Yes.
it's you.
Hmm.
And third person is where you have actual character and you see the character running and all that.
Yes, yes, yes. They have blown up, I would say, in the last 20 years. Those have been
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely. And you know what? I think that this pandemic, I think the people who thrived the most during this time of the pandemic, I would say it's gamers and Twitch, the company Twitch and streaming services and that kind of thing, because gaming sales went up. More people are streaming, more people are tuning into streams and Twitches. So yeah, I feel like throughout this pandemic, they blew up even more so.
oh, definitely. I think, as you say, um, with people stuck in their homes,
Yeah,
what else
exactly.
is there to do? I mean, Netflix has clearly made a huge profit.
Yep.
Disney, the names can go Zoom. They made
Oh,
a
yeah,
huge,
we're on here right now.
exactly, made a massive profit. So I think there's been success stories and there's been a lot of misery. And I think the key is, as you've highlighted, is having that balance and trying to utilize as wisely as possible your time. I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm having conversations and people are saying, "Oh, I'm bored. I'm just in the house." I'm like, "Okay, well, why don't you come out of your house? Why don't you take advantage of the rate, some exercise regime? And if you don't want to do that, how about getting a subscription to an audiobook and listen to some
Something.
audiobooks?"
At this point, it's on the person. I see, obviously, you know, everyone has taken a hit. Things are tough, but we have to pivot. You have to find something else. That's why I said you can't be too obsessed with one thing or too stuck in a lane, because we get kind of fixated on the things that we're good at or the things that are working. When that thing doesn't work, we normally don't have a plan B, as much as we like to talk as if we have plan Bs, and most people don't.
Mm,
So we have to learn how to be like water. I don't want to be cliche here, but like Bruce Lee, is be like water. And it's more than just fighting. Be like water in life, be like water throughout, everything. And it helps. And just being able to have a variety of things. I remember when I told someone I was building a PC, they looked at me and they said, You build a PC? You crazy? And I'm like, how are you gonna do that? And I'm like, YouTube is a motherfucker.
you heard?
YouTube is crazy, bro. Right? And I learned so much from just watching things on YouTube, and just we have all the time in the world, so just study. So
Mm.
I've been studying, and I've been getting into a whole bunch of other things, and now I have a podcast. So
Yes. I mean, you've raised two good points, which we'll get into. I mean, a lot of people do utilize YouTube for some very strange reasons. And, I didn't even know these type of videos actually were on YouTube, but there's a plethora of information, tutorials, reviews, and this you could really get lost, documentaries, debates. I mean, literally
absolutely
every
everything.
anything you want. But a lot of people seem to just use YouTube to watch either music videos, booty shaking, fights.
Yeah,
There's a whole
it's all
big
up to you. At the end
yes.
of the day, it's all up to you. It's you become what you tune into, right? So whatever you want to tune into, that's what it's gonna be.
Very good point. Very good point. You create your own destiny and life path ultimately.
Absolutely. And that goes with everything, man. Even fighting, I realize that, and I'm in a sense, I kind of regret that I didn't find this out earlier, and I didn't understand this earlier in my career. Is where um, you have to create your own narrative. You
Mm,
have to create. You can't wait for the media to do it. You can't put out, try to wait until you get in front of a media source and hopefully they put out, your create your narrative for you. No, take advantage. We live in a digital era. where you put out your information and you show the world what you want to show the world. And you know what? You can create your own narrative. And when you create your own narrative, you know, it's real. It's more
Mhm.
you, you know?
Yes,
So, and people get to see that. Not
definitely.
only the headlines and the clickbaits that they create. Yeah.
Exactly, the negative element and the, as you say, the headline grabbing element of the media, which unfortunately that's, you know, I mean, in my opinion, that's dinosaur media. What we're doing
Mhm.
now, and you creating your own podcast, and multiple other fighters, you know, it's a plethora of people now saying, you know what, I'm not waiting for XYZ to invite me onto their podcast on a Monday so I can give them some news kind of thing. I'm going to
Mhm.
show exactly what I'm doing and tell, you know, my story, because that's what ultimately what it is. We want to get investors invested as mixed martial artists or combat sports enthusiasts.
Mhm.
It's not just about the fights. It's about,
For
you
sure.
know, it's the journey. You know, we want to be invested in the journey, and the only way to do that is by seeing and, you know, experience going on those highs, going on those lows. And I think most MMA promotions do a good job, but I
Mhm.
think it's very selective. It's very selective. You might only like, for instance, still like UFC, the organization you're contracted to fight for.
Mhm.
They'll do the on a main event, like on the pay-per-view, they'll do like a 30-minute to an hour breakdown of like the main event and maybe two other fighters. That should be done for every single event, whether it's a fight night or not. This
For sure.
gives massive exposure to each fighter and to their camp and to potentially their teammates, which they'll show training with them and eating, etc., etc. I really do think UFC are missing a huge trick on that. If they want to
I
create
agree.
stars, isn't that the way to do it?
Yeah, but the thing is, they have to invest in the big stars. I don't think they can do it for everyone because they have to invest in who's drawing the eyes. You know, who's drawing the numbers for them. You know, because it's a numbers game at the end of the day. So
Hmm.
I agree that they should give the guys on the mid tier guys a little more shine.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, I think the bulk of their attention is going towards the guys. You know, I wouldn't say at the top, but the guys who, yeah, I guess at the top, but the guys who are, you know, headlining cards, main eventing, co-main eventing,
Yes.
because those are the people who are drawing the crowds, you know. So it makes sense. It does make sense.
It certainly does make sense, but as we can see, or as we, well, as we can see and as we've seen, pre the Usman and Masvidal fight,
Mm-hmm.
what was taking place? There was all this negative media and press about fighters pay again. This subject that seems to spring up all the
Yeah,
time. Um, you know, show money and then
and win money.
win money. What on earth is that all
Yeah.
about, Dana White? In 2020, you still expecting people to, you
I
know?
think that'll change. That'll change eventually. You know, that's a conversation that we've been having forever, and a conversation that I think is going to continue to happen for a little while. But you have to understand the sport is very young,
Hmm.
and again, the UFC is in the business of monopolizing, right? And it's what they do,
Yes.
and you can't really, in a way, I don't fault them, you know, because you have to look at it like this. You have to look at it's a if you are running your business right in the industry that they're in, you know, it's very cutthroat, and they just bring that cutthroat mentality over into anything that they do, you know. But when I came into the game, this is how it was, you know. And obviously,
Yes.
I wish it was different. You know,
Hmm.
everybody wish it was different, but that's not what it is. So while it is what it is, we have to take advantage of the moment because we can't change it, but we can manipulate it to our liking. So how do we manipulate it? Keep getting them dubs.
Yes.
That's all it comes down to, right? Because you
Simple
can't
as.
win that fight. Can't win
Yes.
that fight. So you know
Mm,
what? You have to wait until time will beat that fight.
very true. Very true. Actions do have to speak louder than words, and you have to
Yes.
ultimately, as they say, where you're at, show and prove.
Yes. You see, John Jones only got he's never gotten show money. He's never gotten show money. He has X amount of fights in the UFC, world champion, never gotten show money. That's not an issue for him. He's
Mm,
only gotten win bonus after win bonus after win bonus, right?
Yes, yes,
So you
yes.
combine those, that's a big payday every time.
Every
So,
time.
so it's up to you.
Every single time. I
Yeah.
mean, since you brought up Mr. Bones,
Mhm.
he's clearly been in the media. Actually, no. Before we get to Bones, you touched on your podcast. Let's
Yeah.
get into that. So you know, through this pandemic and stuff, you've now found another outlet. So let's get into
Mhm.
it. What's the name of the podcast?
Name of the podcast is called The Pro and the Bro. So it's me and my brother-in-law. We started off, in the backyard just messing about, and yeah, it's we talk about fights, we talk about different sports, we talk about everything, from you. That's where you can get the direct news from me. Direct news from
So
me about
you
my
touch it.
fight.
You touch it
Yeah,
everything then.
we touched it everything. Last week we spoke about when Cardi B tweeted at me or something like that. So we all kind of craziness. So we go jump around, but it's funny. It's a good time. We have a Discord with about 100 people in there so far, and everybody jumps in and chats live with us, and we interact with everyone. It's a good time.
Excellent, excellent. What I will do is I'll make sure I include the link to it's on, I'll include all the links. So I'll put the Discord up, I'll put the YouTube channel up and the Twitch as well.
Yes, and Twitch as well.
Definite, definite. So how long you been doing that?
Not long. We just closed up our 11th episode this Sunday. So we go
Excellent.
live every Friday and Monday.
Okay. So you getting much, are you getting much interaction and all that there with the followers?
Yeah, man, it's growing because the thing, what makes it fun is that they're on Twitch. You
Hmm.
can it's live, so people they comment and we go back and forth and we ask opinions. I do bag giveaway. I give away last week I gave away a pair of uh MMA gloves that I fought in. You know, um,
Okay.
so we do a bunch of giveaways and it's just super interactive. It's funny because we have our regulars that come in and they make their
Mhm.
comments and their jokes and all that. It's really a good time.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna have to check that out. What time does it do you normally air that? Stream that?
6 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay, so that'll be like 11 my time. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
man, I'm gonna check that out, man. I'm gonna put that in the calendar. You can see me in the chat, sibling.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Definitely. And sometimes I mix it up. So sometimes you see me in there, I mix up the patois and rare, So
Definitely, you have to keep them
I
on them
splash of that
toes.
tonight. What do you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definite, man. And again, and that we need that, man, because that's culture. That's part of your
Yeah,
culture. Are you that?
absolutely.
You know what I'm talking about? So yeah, man, that's what. And you know what was good to see? And I didn't know the young lady who was the crazy underdog,
Yeah, man. Shanna Dobson. We spoke about her on the
Dobson.
show too. Yes,
I
yes.
didn't know she was from
Super proud,
JA.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Give
Yeah, man.
thanks.
She had JA roots.
Definite, definite. We need to see more of that there promoted where people are from because
Yes.
it's we're seeing a plethora of these Dagestani Eastern Bloc people coming out and people are talking and they're proper putting on a good shows and some of them are
Yeah.
losing, etc. But we're seeing them flags them, you know.
You have to.
We
Representation is important. Representation is everything, man. Right? Because that's you don't know who you're inspiring on. Whenever I go to Jamaica, right? Whenever I'm
Mhm,
back home, is the amount of people, that see me and tell me, how much, they look up to me and how much I have inspired them to pursue their dreams in combat sports, and that feels good. That feels
mm.
good. The amount of messages you receive and all that. So representation is important. Growing up, I never had looked up to see anybody, a Jamaican mixed martial artist. I had to be the first. I had to be the guy. So
Mhm.
now that I'm the guy, it feels good to know that, all right, there's other people coming up now, and I'm helping the sport grow, and I'm doing my part.
This is it, and you're leading by example, sibling. We're not
Yeah,
seeing
man.
no damn headlines for no foolishness, you know what I mean?
No, no, no,
The
never
man
that.
out there going and putting the work.
Absolutely, we have to. Have to. It's a grind. It's a grind, and ultimately, I want to become rich and successful, and be a legend in the sport. And the only way to do that is to continue to do what I'm doing, and just stay on the path and win. So I have to continue to do what I'm doing, just work and try to create different outlets and any way I can, just continue to grow in all aspects.
Definitely. That's the only way to do it, man. Growth and development is one of the keys to success, and consistency,
Yes.
again, forms part of that road to success. So you mentioned Mr. Jones earlier, and
Mhm.
he's clearly been in the media quite a lot. He was
Yeah.
more recently relating to fight news, etc. He was talking about doing a super fight with Francis, and there was some kind of money issues and etc. etc. He's relinquished the lightweight belt now, and he's
Mhm.
moving up to heavyweights. What? How do you see that all play out?
I think it didn't play out the way he would have liked it to play out.
Mm,
The way I saw how it should have how it played out in John Jones's mind, I think it played out like this. I think he, and this is why he waited to relinquish, right? I think he still believes he can beat Stipe, so he doesn't mind challenging Stipe.
hmm
But his ideal situation would have been this. Excuse me. His ideal situation would have been when, if if Cormier won the belt, he would have went up, fought Cormier because he knew that he can be definitely can beat Cormier because he beat him twice already. So he
hmm
would have went up, fought him, beat him, and that would have solidified him as most definitely the greatest of all time, which arguably he still is right now. But that would have sealed the deal without a doubt and
Yeah.
would have erased all of the negative things that, well, not erased, but that would have helped people forget a lot of the things that overshadow his career.
hmm
um I think that he wanted to be double champ, heavyweight
Yes.
champion, and light heavyweight champion, and a sure way to that was to fight Cormier. So now he had to pivot a little bit, but that's what all great champions do, and just great people in
hmm
general, are good at pivoting. And he pivoted, and he said, what, well, I'm still gonna relinquish, and I'm looking to take on DC, looking to take on Stipe. And now I think that he's hoping that Stipe beats uh Francis Ngannou, because Francis Ngannou is a tougher fight for him. I don't think he wants no parts of that. Yeah, so
I would agree. I would most definitely agree. I mean, well, you know what? You know what? Clearly, Francis is the power puncher.
yes,
He's definitely he's the aggression and stuff. But Stipe, he's got the footwork, he's got the movement, and I think he's more of a. And this is no slight to Francis, because it's he's very early in his mixed martial arts career.
mm,
Um, Stipe is a well-rounded. He's a mixed martial art fighter at heavyweight, whereas
for sure.
Francis is a striker, a very good striker at heavyweight, but he's not a mixed martial arts. He's training within that, but we don't see it. We see Francis go out there and
Throw
fuck
bombs.
shit up. Exactly. Simple as, and
Yeah.
it's very entertaining to see, especially for the casuals. That's what they want to see. They want to see leg kicks, a couple elbows, some punches, and they want to see someone unconscious. Whereas when you get a bit more involved in the game, you like to see those grappling exchanges. You like to see those flows. You like to see the wrestling, the wrestling defense, and the submissions. Um, so I think Stipe personally is more of a challenge for Jones than Ngannou.
That makes sense. That does make sense. I think styles make fights. So I just think the stylistic fight style
hmm
of Ngannou is just a problem for someone like Jones. If Jones can't obviously take him down and implement those other techniques,
Yeah,
you know.
very true, very true. I mean, as we saw, I think, pardon self, the Thiago Santos and Jones fight, he was pretty much a handicapped fighter, but took Jones to very, very deep, deep waters.
Yeah.
Um, Santos is more proficient than Ngannou, but he's got the power. So if he can, employ a very similar game plan that Santos employed against Jones, it's going to be a short night for Jones potentially, unless he can employ his movement.
Yeah, and he's bigger. And he's
Yes.
bigger too. Ngannou is a lot bigger. So if Ngannou can cut him off, cut off the ring, and keep the pressure on him, and like how you see how he blitzed Rosenstruck and put
Yes.
him out.
Hmm.
If he comes out like that against Jones, I don't see Jones is not much of a counter guy. Jones is more of a rangy guy, maintain
Yes.
range. So Jones will slide out of the way. He'll slide either left or right to maintain distance. But I don't see him doing that against a guy like Ngannou who's able to put that kind of heavy pressure like that and throw
Yes.
heat,
Mm.
And most importantly, can he take a shot and survive in the early rounds, from Ngannou?
Good point. Because
Because
it's more.
Ngannou's just as big as him, if not bigger, and can take a shot
Mm.
and can give a shot. So John Jones
Well,
doesn't do well with tall guys either.
yes, yes. He doesn't. He doesn't, as Gustafsson proved that. But the power, he'd have to. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting. I think he could definitely be a very big problem within heavyweight. Um,
For sure.
he lacks power. That's the only thing, especially at heavyweight. He lacks the power. Um, and I don't think he's as creative as he once was. Maybe is he potentially age? Was he fighting for the last 4 or 5 of his fights very reserved just to make sure he kept the belt? Because the John Jones that most people, Bones Jones, who we all fell in love with, he was so unorthodox. The spinning
Yeah.
attacks, the clinch, everything was just like, what's next? What is he going to throw next?
I
He
would
had
think it's age.
age.
I would think it's age. Less predictability. I mean, like less unpredictability because um, when you're young, you're just fearless, man. You're just fearless
True.
for real. Like you just. I remember even me at 21 was like, yo, send me to the UFC now.
Isn't it?
I'm ready for anybody.
Mm,
Anybody, anytime. And I was like, even when I got to UFC, same thing, ready. But it's like I'm ready, and I'm willing to throw anything at anybody. I'm willing to throw any risky technique. I'm in your face. I want to do it because you just feel invincible, especially when
yes.
you're undefeated. When you're
Hmm.
undefeated, you feel invincible, like nobody can touch you,
Mm,
and and I think as he got older, the decisions got closer and closer. The fights got more, competitive. The
yes.
guys are getting better. He's getting older.
Hmm.
Uh, I think it kind of forced him to fight more reserved and lean on his less of his athleticism and more of his fight IQ.
His ringmanship. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I think he's the king. Fight IQ. He knows what he needs to
Yes.
do. He definitely knows what he needs to do to win the fight. I think
Absolutely.
he has a tremendous opportunity at heavyweight to really, as you say, solidify himself to be what most people consider him to be at the moment, which is the greatest.
Yes, I agree.
So 14, what's your record now, pardon, Sal? 14,
I think it's 12 and 4 now.
12 and 4. Okay.
12 and 4. So he was 12-3, looking to make it 13-3, but last go was a rough go, but
Yes, yes, yes. So let's get into that camp. Let's get into that camp and let's get into that last fight that you had. Um paint the picture, paint the vivid picture, man. What was that like amongst this pandemic? Because for some fighters, it's been terrible, but they've had the right thing happen in the octagon, in the squared circle. For others, it's been up and down. It's been so fluctuatic. It's been very hit and miss. You don't know what's going on, but it's been very fun. It's been very entertaining
yeah.
from the perspective of a viewer. But as I say, paint that picture, man. What was that like for you?
Well, as you know, my camp is in New York, so I feel like for most fighters, if the camp is outside of New York or in a place where they didn't really shut down as much, we were in the epicenter of, COVID. So, we just those guys are able to train and get their work in regardless. Um, some guys are not able to get that work, because gyms are closed. Like my gym is closed. We took a big hit. Now we have to probably downsize and look to move. But I feel like we made it work. You know, we made it work. We did what we had to do. We didn't have as much many guys as we needed to make, you know, to get the training done the right way. But I feel like we still made it work. You know, my coach would come into my house. You know, we worked back in my backyard a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Just a key couple guys we had, you know, that we kept around and kept it short and tight. But we made it work. I feel like I was in great shape and we made it work. The problem is now my weight cut, man. My weight cut was horrendous. My weight cut was vicious, man.
So what was you cutting from?
Um, I cut from about 190 to
Okay.
make 170, you know,
Yeah.
but nothing crazy. Not so
No.
that's the average cut.
Yeah.
But it's more so about when you get there about, you know, how much water, how was your water load? It's a lot. It's a lot that goes into it, you know. How's the water coming out of you? You know, how's your rehydration process? You know, what is that like? And I felt as if I was doing all the right things, you know, and man, the morning of the fight, I remember when I woke up that morning and my heart was just racing. I'm like, why is my heart beating so fast? You know, and I chalked it up to, well, I just ate and rehydrated and ate a whole bunch of shit. So I'm thinking, well, my body's just trying to process what's going on, you know, and process all the food and what's coming into my body.
Yeah.
And I just,
Yeah.
so now I said, all right, well, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go take a nap, and then by the time, you know, tonight when we're ready to go fight, I should be good. So I get to the warm up, and when I start warming up, I'm extremely gassed. Warming up, my heart is just, and now I can see on my coach's face there, you can see the panic. You know, you can see them, they're nervous, but they're trying not to show me that they're nervous. You know, but they're trying to keep it together for me, and I'm just like, but I know already, and I already made up my mind in that moment. I said, all right, I'm gonna have to just push through. All right. So
describe how that feels, sibling. Is it like having an adrenaline dump kind of? Is that the kind of sensation?
Yeah, is that exact sensation? I mean, if you notice in the fight, you can see me looking up at the clock in round one.
Yes.
Round one, towards the middle of round one, you see me look at the clock, and I look back at Vicente. I'm like, I hope he didn't see me look up just now. But it's one of those things, man, where it's like, you know, it is, and obviously I don't say that any of that to discredit Vicente in any kind of way, in no way, shape, or form, because the man showed up like a true professional and did exactly what he needed to do, regardless of what I'm going through, and can't expect nothing less from a professional like that, right? So he did great, and everything that he did, there was nothing that I wasn't prepared for. There's nothing that he did that I didn't say like, oh, I wasn't prepared for that. We knew he was coming with heavy pressure and big leg kicks, right? And I just wasn't able to, you know, it wasn't my night. It was his night. I wasn't able to get anything off. My athleticism wasn't there. I felt slow, gassed early, and I just wasn't able to get anything off. You know, my jab was there, but I had nothing to couldn't sit and commit on anything. You know, so
I noticed you was pumping a jab out there, but as you say, you wasn't able to sit down on it to, you know, really say, yo.
yeah, I didn't gain any respect. You know, I wasn't able to sit and fire back a right hand or, you know, the kicks or anything. Just the energy level just wasn't there, man. You know, so we had to take a step back, assess, and see what happened. You know, we looked back at it, and the rehydration process was shitty. Didn't do what I needed to do and rehydrate properly. You know, but also, you know, there's a lot of changes. So usually when people are used to routines, when you go to the event now, everything is different. So like, usually we're in quarantine initially when you get there, you know, usually you're able to move around, you get to go to a sauna, you get to work out. Now it's you get there and you have to just stay there for the first day, and then the second day you're able to move around. You have a small window to move around. Then the following day after that you're quarantined again, and it's very weird. It's very weird. So it throws off your normal routine. But again, like I said before, you have to pivot and you have to learn and adapt and overcome. So that's exactly what we'll do. So next time we'll come in, now that I know what to expect, we can just do it the right way and get it done.
So was the sauna available at any point?
Yeah, we have. They gave us a private room with a personal sauna. You know, the personal saunas with where you sit, where your head sticks out. And you kind of just sitting there.
Okay,
Yeah. So they gave us one of those in each room. So we were just dealing with that. But it wasn't the best, but it is what
Mm.
they had, and that was my first time ever using one of those. So, and I liked it actually. So it's not even like it was a bad
Okay, was it
thing.
cool then?
Yeah, it wasn't great, but it was better than being in a hot ass sauna with your
Yeah, yeah,
face and you're breathing in like that hot air. You know, so it was good.
yeah.
But it's I really truly one thing I will regret of that night is I know my rehydration process wasn't the best, and that's on no one but me. You know, that's not on my coaches, that's not on anybody, because I felt as if even though the camp wasn't great, I didn't have all my tools, but we made it happen. We adapted and we made it happen, and I knew I was in great shape. I was in amazing shape. We made it happen.
Mm,
But what happened is we couldn't it got muffled. It got taken away from me by by not rehydrating in the proper way, and by the weight cut. Not the weight
yeah.
cut not going the way it should have went. So that really did a number on my cardio. We did a number on my performance. So the weight cut is everything. So
Mm,
if you mess up the weight cut, then you're pretty much screwed. And just bonehead errors, man. And that's something that I should have known better from. I've been doing this for X amount of years, and I've never had a weight cut like that. And I've never had a rehydration, kind of fail me like that. So it is what it is. And I've learned from it. And now we'll move on and I'll never make those mistakes again.
so it's not a case of you're gonna need to go to the PI to get nutritional stuff, help,
No,
and
not
all
at
that kind of.
all. I will go to September. I'm going to the PI anyway. Right.
Mhm.
But the thing is, again, when I was standing in front of Vicente, because I had people say, this, and this is what I don't like, but it is what it is. I just kind of just have to accept it. And it's what people are saying. Hey, yeah, man, top 10 in the world is different. It's different. It's like and
Well, wait a
I'm
minute.
just
What?
like, yeah, I'm like, that's so, it annoys me so much because I'm like, no, no, I train with the best in the world. There's guys at the highest level that I compete with at the
Mm,
highest level in the gym. And when standing in front of Vicente Luque, right, it was never a case of, man, this guy's too much. I'm not seeing any of these shots. I'm not, who I can't, even
yeah.
with the shots that hit me whenever I drop, I just feel I just couldn't take the shots because of my conditioning.
Hmm.
Everything I just was not there because physically. So even that I wasn't hurt when he hit me with the shots and that dropped me. I wasn't dizzy or anything. My legs just kind of just went,
Mm,
and I'm just like shit. I was like fuck. That
yeah.
wasn't even a hard shot. I'm just going like I can't
Uh,
take it. So I'm like, see, I'm like fuck. So I'm there mentally. I'm in the fight. I'm seeing everything that's happening. It's not like I'm not seeing these shots and he's just too good. And no, he's a great fighter. He's an excellent fighter. But
yes.
there was nothing that I've never seen before. There's nothing where it was like, oh my God, this guy is so good. And I'm not too proud to say that someone was the better man that night and I just couldn't see, and he was really good and I need to go back and I need to work on this, I need to work on that. But I don't feel like that was the case that night. I think fatigue, fucked me over,
Yeah.
and it's my own fault.
Mm.
But
So
I'm just looking forward to come back and
yes.
and 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 wipe that shit clean and
Yeah.
fight
Yeah.
somebody,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
whoever I fight next, boy, I'm telling you. Boy, I'm telling you.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to that because, as you say, you wasn't able to put on the show you wanted to put on and show the new tools on on the tool belt, on the utility belt and stuff. So yeah, man, there's gonna be some problems, man. It's gonna be some problems. I'm looking forward to it because I've seen some of the stuff you've been doing on Instagram, had a few chats, like yeah, okay, I was really looking forward to seeing the full further evolvements of the game.
Yes,
Um,
yes,
so I take it after a couple, I have no doubt in my mind that you're gonna chalk up at least another two victories. Um,
absolutely.
would you like to run this one back? I take it, right?
I would love to. I would love to. The only problem is, remember, I was surprised that he even decided to take a step backwards outside of the top 10
I know.
after he fought and won to fight me again. So he was a man of his word, because I asked to fight him again, right? When
Hmm.
our fight got scrapped. I
Yes.
asked to fight him and he accepted, and that I respected that so much, right? Uh so I don't know if he would want to take another step back unless he keeps winning and I keep winning, and
Yes.
then we will run into each other
Well,
again down the.
that's exactly the map of success which I was talking about. I think, proof's in the pudding, obviously, but I think naturally, with your progression and his progression, I mean, he's a real
Mhm.
nice guy, man. And when, with the
Yeah,
interviews
he
and
is.
stuff, he is a
He is.
really nice guy. And much success to him and to you as well.
Mhm.
But I do see at some point within a year, maybe 18 months, I'd see you guys getting matched up again for a part
Yeah,
two.
man. I can see that. I can definitely see that. It's like you said, the proof is in the pudding. My growth is undeniable. My evolution is undeniable. It's something that if you've watched me fight from day one, if you've been watching my career, it's there. You see it. I am a new guy every single time, except for my last time. Right? But I am a new guy every time we step in that octagon, and that's not fluff. That is a fact. That is a
Mm,
fact. So whenever I'm training, I train and I go at it with the 100% intensity every single time, and I train with purpose every single time, and I give it my all every single time, and I'll settle for nothing less.
mm.
So
Well, you
I
can
must
see it.
grow.
Yeah, of course. Well, you must, and you are, because we can see it. I mean, the Mickey Gall fight, I saw progression, huge progression in that respect. The Barbarita fight, that was dope.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite fight. That was one of my favorite fights. Not gonna lie, but even then, man, there's so much more that I've grown, and I couldn't get to show in my last fight, but man, I can't wait for my next fight, because this fight, I feel a lot of things was taken away from me due to my weight cut and due to my own fault, not anyone else's fault. But
Mhm.
we'll see it in my next one, and you'll continue to see it, and then just watch. I'll let the action speak.
Exactly. That's what I like to hear, man. That's exactly what I like to hear. So listen, if we could get, a quote unquote magic wand, or I could morph into Uncle Dana, what are you picking? Who do you want next for your next fight?
Well, for my next fight, obviously, we've spoken to the matchmakers already, and we've had conversation. My
Mhm.
manager has spoken to him, so I won't be fighting a guy in the top 15 for my next fight. Just because obviously it's a small setback because of the loss.
Yes.
Um, my next fight
No, no, no.
is
We're
gonna be a
talking
guy on the
idealist.
outskirts.
No, whoa, whoa,
Idealistic,
whoa.
for sure, for
Yeah,
sure,
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
We're talking
So,
about magic wand stuff, man. We're talking
oh,
magic
okay,
wand
okay,
stuff. You
okay,
know what I mean?
man. Magic one stuff for my next fight. Um, Leon Edwards, man. Now I say that's it. I'm
Yeah.
joking.
See, you
I said
can't
that because
JA
you're British.
versus J, man. You
I said
can't do
that
them
because you're
thing.
British. I know. I said that because I knew you was gonna be a fan. That's why I said that.
He's from my city as
So,
well.
I
Listen, that's the
know.
next champion right there, man.
Oh man, I know. And that's why I said it. That's the message. No, but realistically, if my next matchup, um, it, I would like to honestly, if I think the winner of Lawler Magny.
Magni, you and Magni, that would be dope.
Yeah, I think that would be a great fight.
Um, I like Robbie Lawler. Again, he's a real nice guy. Real nice guy. No trash
Yeah, he is.
talking, none of that stupid stuff, none of that folly. Gets in there, does his thing.
And gets it done.
Unfortunate what happened with him and Askren. I mean, like, what do you think about that fight? Do you think he was temporarily out, and then once Askren released the choke a little bit, he came back too? Or do you think it was a wrong decision?
I think he was temporarily out. 1,000%. I think he's temporarily out and came right back to. Um, but I do think it was an early stoppage. I think he should have, when his arm went limp,
Hmm.
I think the ref should have checked it.
Yeah.
But the way it fell down, it looked like he was out.
Yeah,
But
I
ref
agree.
definitely should have checked it. When it went down, the ref should have checked it. But he made an executive decision just because of the way it fell. But I
Mm,
think that he went out for a quick second, but he was back. I think the choke wasn't fully on there, and he was back. And who knows, maybe he would have went back out. But let it happen.
yes, yes. As we saw with the last weekend's fight, I mean, some of them
Man,
refs let that shit
yo,
go.
shout out. We spoke about that on my podcast, man. Shout out to the ref, man. That ref was damn good. He let, like, Rodriguez versus Dwight Grant.
Yes. Was it
Man,
Chris Tione or something? Was that the guy?
I don't remember his name, but I've never seen him before.
Mm,
And I'm telling you, Dwight Grant was on Rodriguez,
yeah.
like, man, like
Mm,
he was on his ass, but and he was just
serious.
beating him and beating him and beating him. And I thought it was gonna end. Most refs would have stopped it there, but you know what? Rodriguez stopped for a second. He settled, and I thought it was done. But then he caught a second wind and started moving, and he stood
Yeah.
up. And Dwight Grant, he burned himself out, man. The man burned
Mm,
himself out, and then Rodriguez came back on and said, "Hey, my
hold up.
turn."
In it.
Yeah, and that was it.
But I think in that situation, as you say, I thought, yo, first round TKO, he's got this here.
Yeah,
But because there was no blood or nothing, the punches were landing cleanly. There was some definitely clean headshots and body shots being thrown. But I
yeah,
think the ref was most definitely right to let that go.
yeah, man. But on the flip side, you see how quick he stopped it for Grant. On
Yes.
Grant, because now Grant was taking bigger shots. You see the way his head was snapping
Yeah,
back and
yeah,
all that,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then he was going out and coming back in. Then the ref
Mm,
stopped it. That ref was a good ref.
yes.
That ref was a really good ref.
I mean, okay, since we're on this then, the Herbster, Mr. Herb Dean.
Yeah,
Some people say the greatest, one of the greatest referees,
I
outside
agree.
of Big John. Um, what do you think about all of that stuff that happens on Fight Island?
It
And
happens, man.
again, this is
Mhm.
someone from my neck of the woods as well, Jai Herbert, and and who was his opponent again? The one who won?
I forget. I
Brazilian
forget who it
guy,
was.
the veteran. Yeah. Well, what's your break that down again? I like to hear from a fighter standpoint. What break it down for me?
This Herb Dean could have definitely jumped in there a little quicker. He definitely could have. It was a bad stoppage by Herb. But listen, Herb is a legendary referee,
Hmm.
and it's never you're never always gonna be good at everything. You're never always gonna get the right call all the time, right?
Yes.
Some of them, you're so many fights you're bound to mess up from time to time.
Hmm.
But man, the fight that was a that was a horrendous stoppage, man. I don't know what
Yeah.
happened, if he fell asleep at the wheel or what, or he said that he said that his hands were up protecting his face, but
No.
even the fighter know, man. Even people on out, when you rock somebody like that, I've hit people and they went out like that, and it's kind of like, they're out from the way they're falling.
Falling.
They're frozen. So sometimes his
Mm,
hands were in front of his face. He wasn't protecting himself.
yeah.
He was frozen stiff.
Mm,
He was just stiff. So
yeah.
as he went down, his hands were still there. That's not protecting yourself. You're just stuck there. So I think that was a horrible stoppage. Horrible. And
Francis Trinago.
Trilango,
That's
yes,
it.
yes. And that guy was winning. The other guy was winning. The guy from
Yes.
England was winning, man. And you know, man, shout out to Trilango for not wanting to continue to hit
Yeah.
him, because even he said, "Yo,
And then,
he's out." And
mm,
Herb Dean said, "No, he's not."
no,
And I'm like, "Damn, that was bad. That was really bad, because you don't want to see guys get hurt,
of
where they have to
course.
go back home to their family. No matter, it's entertainment, and people kind of look at fighters as as a product almost, so you don't really humanize us as much as should. And at the same time, we all have people that love us, man, and we have children and families, and we
Yeah.
want to come back home to, and they don't want to see us hurt. They don't want to see us hurt. So um, that wasn't good. But Herb Dean is an excellent ref. Is an
Yes.
excellent. I don't know what happened that day.
Mm. You raise a good point. You raise a very good point. Ultimately we all are human, and
Yeah,
humans unfortunately do make errors and make mistakes. So that unfortunately that was one. I think what happens after with between him and again another British um citizen with Dan in the name of Dan Hardy, I think
hmm
that was all unnecessary. I think the backing. I don't think Herb number one should have said anything outside. He should
yeah,
have obviously made it a Twitter statement potentially. But as far as making a video and not addressing him and talking about that just just
I
leave it.
agree. I
Just
agree.
leave it.
I think that the the original outcry, the outburst of, hey, like, that's normal. It's a
Yes.
normal, natural reaction. I was watching the fight, live, and I had the same reaction. I was like, yo, like I like, like he can hear me, right? But it's like, but at the same time, it's just a natural reaction. So that was good. That was okay. But the back and forth afterwards, that's a no. And even at my fight recently, Dana did a big thing about it. Backstage at the fighters meeting, he said, hey, everything can be heard. It's not like a big event. And he said, anyone that ever goes against a referee, goes against an official or attacks an official, or, it's going to be a problem, and you'll never fight in the UFC ever again. So those are big things. They take those things seriously. And, going against the commission is going against ultimately the people who oversee the UFC. So that's never a good idea.
Never. And referees are there to what? Protect the fighters ultimately.
Yes.
I don't think Herb Dean, the Herbster as I call him, was financially paid off. He was malicious. He made a mistake.
Yeah, for sure.
It happens. I mean, let's switch it to to the judging. So, some of the judges' decisions are just ridiculous.
That's always a problem. That's always a problem. That's always going to be a problem. There's no real formula to judge in MMA yet. There is no real formula yet. It's crazy.
There's many ways to do it, and there's, like, for instance, like, let's look at one championship. They judged the entirety of the fight, right, rather than round by round. Other sporting organizations have multiple referees who not only judge on the day, but then will oversee the judgments of the day to make sure that everything is right.
Everything was right.
Also, how about this for a real crazy idea? How about having judges who have some flipping experience in combat sports rather than, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't the majority of these judges all like from boxing and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, come on.
It doesn't make any sense. I think the only way to fix something like this is to have former fighters become judges and give them like a real payday, a significant payday, and make fighters be able to have a career after fighting as judges.
Yes.
And I think that's the key, to have more fighters as judges and have more accurate judging. I think that's the way.
Yes. I think that's an excellent idea, and I think UFC being the huge brand they are, I think they could really champion that whole situation and make that like a standard sort of thing that every major organization is looking to do.
Yeah.
Do you think that there may be some bias with some of the fighters, just based upon the history that they've got with potential gyms, and then them potentially still working out at gyms, seeing the talent, etc., then judging that said talent against somebody else?
That's a good point. That is a good point.
That's the only downside I potentially see. I mean, because we're all passionate, as whether you, and obviously as a fighter or ex-fighter, you're going to be even more passionate about it. But anybody who is hands-on involved in the sport has a passion for it anyway. That's the whole reason why you do it, not just for the money as well. But that's where I see a potential sticky point. Should we say?
That makes sense. I didn't think about that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So as you touched on as well, the weight cutting thing, 190 to 170. I do talk about this with most fighters and anybody connected to combat sports. Do you think that there is enough divisions, and or do you think there could be more divisions?
I think it could be. 65. I love the idea of 65. I don't think right now they'll do it. Maybe in the future, but I think that's a great idea, and I'm always for it. 65. I'm always up for going to 65, because the jump between weight classes can be a little far for some guys who don't sit very heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a 65. Think about from 55 to 70 it's a far away, man.
Yeah.
That's a far away. So, I would say 60, a 60, even a 60, a 60, yeah, 65 right there. I think that's perfect. 65 or 60, 63.
65. Let's just keep it how it is. We'll do 55, 65, 75, 85, and we'll just keep on going up in 10 pound increments. I mean, look how many is on the roster in UFC. 500 plus fighters.
Yeah.
He's got
And
more than
everybody has to
enough.
get 3 fights.
But this is the whole thing to fulfill contractual agreements, and not only with the fighters, but with the network to put on, with the ESPN to put on X amount of fight nights per year. I think he's really missing out on a trick here. I really do. That gives you another potential champion. You give the
Sure.
170 champion an option to say, you know what do you want to do? You want to go down? You want to go up? You know.
But then they have to pay more money. Saying I don't think that's something they're interested in.
Pay the champion more money to go down or go up.
No, that leaves room for another champion that has to make more
Oh
money.
yeah. Oh yeah, of course. But you know, with
Yeah.
the marketing machine and power of the UFC, I don't know. I know nothing, man. I know nothing. Listen, just don't go Conor McGregor in there, put his name on the thing, you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
for real, right?
We
For
got
real.
it. I mean, listen, Dana, just come to me on email and let me know, and you know, you can sign off on the idea, let it run through, pay me the royalties. But that's it. Conor McGregor, 165.
Yeah, that's the move. That's the
That's
move. That
that's
really
the
is the
Dilly.
move.
Yeah, leave everyone else as it is. I mean, Khabib and Conor, forget all that stuff, man. Forget all of that. Right, that was
Man.
done. He did well. Don't get it wrong. He did well against Khabib, but we
Mhm.
we know the outcome of that. Yeah. Khabib needs to be fighting Tony. That's what needs to happen before he retires. We need that.
Khabib versus Tony. Yeah.
We need it.
But you know what? You know what?
They need it. Not just we need it. They need it.
I think Khabib is done now. I think Khabib is he's gonna fight this last fight, and then he'll retire.
And 29-0. I thought it would be 30-0.
Or was it 30? Is he
30.
not 29 now? Is he not 29-0 now?
Let me double check. I'm sure it's.
Let's see. That could be wrong.
I thought it was 28, but you could be right, sir. You could most definitely be right. Because again, the headlines is he wants to do the Gaethje, and then he wants to do the GSP thing in it.
Yeah, he's 20. He's 28. So after this fight, he'll fight. After the Gaethje fight, you know, everything goes according to plan. He'll be 29-0.
Yes. So the last one, I mean, GSP, you know, excellent fighter, well-rounded, did a lot for the sport.
GSP's not coming back, man.
Exactly, and going out to 155. Huh?
Everyone got to let it go. Everyone got to let it go, man. It's GSP did what he had to do.
Yeah.
He was a legend. It's over. That's it.
That's it, man. That is it. So yeah, man. And also, what do you think about that title fight with Gaethje and Nurmagomedov?
I got Khabib winning, but here's the thing. I think that Gaethje can win is only if his takedown defense is what everyone claims to make it be. You know, because he does have great takedown defense, great wrestling. He was a collegiate wrestler. But you have to understand this, and I bring this up in my podcast all the time, is that Justin Gaethje, no one tested his wrestling. I mean, we've seen it in PFL. We've seen it in glimpses here and there in the UFC. But the thing is, it's never really truly been tested. People don't try to take him down because they know it's just a thing where, well, he has good takedown defense. But as a wrestler, when you're the best wrestler in the room, the same thing goes for Khabib. You're coming off of wrestling competition and, you know, being a collegiate wrestler. In an MMA room, you're the wrestler. You're the if you're the best wrestler in the room, guys
Hmm.
are always gonna be trying to take. No one's trying to take you down. They're always playing defense to you. So you never really get to work that level of wrestling. Your wrestling suffers. It kind of goes down. It never stays as good as it used to be because you don't have those same level of wrestlers constantly on you, constantly giving you that push, constantly pushing the pace, and you have to sprawl and reshoot and that kind of shit. You're not really doing that much. So um I think your wrestling will suffer. So I think that a game plan to beat Khabib, to throw him off guard, I think, is to be extremely offensive in the
Ah,
wrestling.
okay.
Don't wait for him to wrestle you. Just
Uh-huh.
go and wrestle him. Put him on defense immediately. And I think that's the way to beat someone like that. And with Justin Gaethje, no one ever wrestles, and that's the same way to beat him. I think in wrestling, no one wrestles him. You know why no one wrestles him? Because they're like, all right, he has good wrestling and good takedown defense, so I can't take him down. So I'm forced to stand here and bang with this dude. So um, I think that Justin Gaethje can beat Khabib, but he would have to be offensive in the takedown department, which that's not really his style. He's probably gonna bang. And another way he can beat him is if Khabib cannot take him down and it's forced Khabib to stand and bang. And I don't see that either. So I got Khabib winning this.
Okay, I like that. I like your keys to victory regarding Gaethje being offensive at the start with the wrestling. I never thought about that.
Yeah, most people
That's
most people don't. It's-
that's an excellent point. That is a real good point. I think, as you say, and it goes without saying, you use it or lose it. And
yep.
he's not defensively doing anything. Khabib, I wouldn't imagine. He's
No, not at all. He's the guy in the room. He's the guy.
exactly.
If anything, guys are asking him for help. They're hey, I'm fighting a wrestler, man. Could you start on my legs here?
Mm,
Let's get some work so you could take me. If I could stop you from taking me down, I can stop
get
anyone from
it?
taking me down.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that's the conversation being had. So another thing, here's another point, right? Just to validate my point even more. Ben Askren. Ben Askren was an Olympian wrestler, right?
Hmm.
Think about that, an Olympic level wrestler, and he went up against uh, Jordan Burroughs, I believe, and beat the streets.
Oh
In a,
yes, yes.
was it Jordan Burroughs, right?
Yeah, yeah,
In a purely strictly wrestling match, right? Do you see what happened?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He got absolutely destroyed. It was like it wasn't even close. It looked
No,
like he was getting played with. And obviously, Jordan Burroughs is a great. I'm not saying if I'm not saying if he was in his prime still wrestling, he would have beat him, right? But what I'm saying is it would have been competitive.
competitive. Yes.
It wasn't even competitive, and here's why. Like you said, use it or lose it, right? You're in the MMA room now. For an MMA fighter, he may have amazing wrestling, and and he can take anyone in the MMA gym down. But Olympic level is different when it's purely wrestling. When you only have to focus on that one thing. When you got to work on striking and all those other aspects of the game, other things suffer because of that. So I think that's why he looked as bad as he did against someone like that in a strictly wrestling match, purely wrestling match. Now he goes over to MMA or wrestles an MMA guy, he dominates them
Mm.
because they're not at that caliber, right? And that's just what it is. Same thing for Khabib. I think Khabib is great, but you put Khabib against an Olympic level wrestler right now, and strictly wrestling, he gets dominated,
Yeah.
and that's
Uh,
just that's what it is.
Specialists, and we're talking about the art of mixed martial arts versus just dealing with a specific
Absolutely.
specialist application. So yeah, no, that goes without saying. That goes without saying. Um, I like that. I like that. I kind of think the same thing. I do think Khabib is I think he's clearly the favorite, but I've seen a dramatic switch in regards to Gaethje and what he's doing in regards to his fight
Pace.
IQ and pace, exactly how he's pacing himself and stuff. Them leg kicks, them short chopping leg kicks are flipping out of this world. No one, I don't know what kind of hips he's got, but the way he whips and he's able to generate so much power in the clinch, Khabib is going to have some crazy problems with that.
Yeah, I
He
think so. I think so.
that's what I think the one of the major factors he's going to be, because taking him back to the World Series of Fighting, his legendary fights within that organization, now known as the PFL, he was destroying people. in the clinch, you just those
He
leg
was.
kicks. And he's still got the ability to do that. And I think that's one of the main things this is what I think he should be employing. I think what you've said is one of the main things he should employ, most definitely. But if he gets into an upright clinch, he needs to be chopping them legs. And as we know, if he doesn't have them legs, how is Khabib going to be able to drive him and finish those takedowns?
For sure. For sure. I agree. I agree 1000%. Because if you can't drive as a wrestler, then that's it. You don't have anything. If you don't have legs, you don't have anything.
Mm. Very true. Very true. That's going to be very interesting. It's sad to hear the news about his father and stuff, especially in these times. It's going to be it's awful. It's awful having to deal with that.
Yeah, man.
Not being able to go to those places, etc. And I think that's going to be a big motivation for him. But at the same time, with all of that and the pressure of being 28-0 and being the champion, will he be able to cope with all of that pressure?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. A guy like that, I don't really see him being affected by something, by things on the outside. I think
No,
he can compartmentalize and get it done.
I mean specifically his father, because his father had the dream of him becoming, retiring at 30 and etc. etc. I think that's going to play a big part. That's a big driving factor, but I think also it's an Achilles heel as well for him.
I couldn't tell you. It all depends on the mental of him, and his mentality. And champions can make perform through any circumstance. And
Very true.
I think that'll be something that he'll put behind him in the moment and compartmentalize what he has to and get it done.
Good point. Good, because as prize fighters, that's exactly what you were able to do, is put those emotions to one side and deal with what's in front of you, and do that and fight now, cry later, kind of thing.
Exactly.
So switching it back into your division, then, former champion being Mr. Woodley, excellent ambassador for your division as a champion. No folly involved, doing good works in Ferguson. Isn't that where he's from? Or random ways?
Rapids. No, is it Ferguson? I think he is from Ferguson,
Yeah, yeah,
Michigan, right?
yeah, yeah,
Is that
yeah.
Michigan? Yeah. Yeah.
He's, as I say, excellent ambassador. When he was champion, I think he's totally fallen off now. Personally, no disrespect to the brother. I
Yeah.
don't know what on earth he's doing. He's, as a champion, as I say, he did some excellent stuff, but I think he's juggling, number one, too many balls, and he's not
Yes.
concentrating on what he brought him come to the dance. You know what I'm saying? And
I
then
agree.
his defense is to look back at all of his, accomplishments. Look what I did. Look what I did. That's fine, Mr. Woodley. But what have you done for me lately? That's what we're
And
talking
that's the
about.
sport. That is the sport. What have you done for me lately? And he really hasn't done much. I think that, he's accomplished so many things and he's did everything that he's supposed to do. And that's great and all. And he'll go down in the Hall of Fame as a legend forever. But I think that he has too much going on and he's over the hill. I think he's over the hill now. I think his time is up. He's an older guy. He's what, like 38?
38, yeah.
Yeah, I think his time is done. His young bucks are coming up,
Yeah.
making a run.
Definitely. I mean, it's. I've said this multiple times, and I'll keep on saying it until it. And well, I don't even know if they'll fight now, but he was due in March to fight my brethren's Leon Rocky Edwards.
Yeah.
All right, and I remember before that he was making all these having all these interviews saying how he's the former champion and Leon Edwards ain't got no name and all this business, and why should he have to go all the way over there? And COVID saved his ass, Randy. COVID
Hey,
saved him, because if that fight would have took place, it wouldn't have
I
been.
think he would have lost. I think he would have lost too. I agree.
he would have more than lost. He would have got finished in the 3rd to 4th round. That's how confident I am in Rocky's capabilities, and based upon our conversation and what we're seeing with how the former champion is, he's not evolving. He's just doing the same shit.
You know what? He has a very athletic based style. It's based in a lot of athleticism, being able to blitz forward, and he's very strong guy, low center of gravity. But again, he's older now and he's losing those inches, of athleticism. So I don't think he can pull it off a lot of the things that he used to be able to pull off anymore. And again, like you said, he's juggling just way too many things at once.
Yes. So how do you see that this long and overdue matchup with him and Mr. Covington, who's created this WWF style persona, which has done some good for him, but it's quite cringe-worthy watching it.
We spoke about this on the podcast too. Same thing, man. I see him getting it. I can see Woodley outstriking Kobe Covington and then knocking him out. But I also could see Kobe Covington holding him down and keeping him down. And Woodley is, well, Covington, as much as of a knucklehead Covington is, at the end of the day, he's an idiot, but the dude could fight.
Yeah.
He could fight. So I think he can get it done.
I think the same. Do you think he's going to go to decision, or do you think he's going to finish him?
Nah, he ain't finishing Woodley. I think it goes to a decision. I think he beats him decision.
Okay. What do you think about his fight with Usman?
Same thing. Same guy, similar style, right? Just a younger, better version.
No, I mean, sorry, the title fight between the defending champion Usman and Covington, and the very late stoppage, the eye pokes, the groin strikes. What did you think about the whole of that, mate? I mean, don't get me wrong. Listen, I'm team Usman all the way in that respect. I would respect Kobe as an athlete, as all of this stupid stuff he's doing. I don't respect it at all. But as an athlete, and listening to his interview and watching back the fight multiple times, some of them things that Usman got time for, they wasn't eye pokes and they weren't groin strikes.
Yeah. But that's the game. The veterans, they know how to play the game, bro. They know how to play the game both ways. So it's kind of like you're gonna milk it. Even in the Cormier fight recently, there's a point where Cormier definitely got poked in the eye. Let's not take away from it. And it was a bad eye poke. But before that, there was a moment where he wasn't poked in the eye, but he kind of played as a poke in the eye. And that was a veteran's move. I'm telling you, bro, that was a veteran's move of just being like, yo, hold on, I need a break real quick. And he's like, yo, it's poking me in the eye, bro. Like, come on, man, watch his fingers, bro. Now you're just chilling, catching a breath. You're just like, oh, my eye. Right? I mean, he was good. But then afterwards, he was 1,000% poked in the eye.
Yes, that was almost karma of sorts. I mean, it's you're milking that thing. I mean,
of course it happens, but here's the downside. Right? The downside of that is you now have to look over at your opponent because he's resting too.
Yes,
he's resting just like you. So it's like, damn, how fast can he recover? Can he recover faster than me?
I think I've heard the saying: if you ain't cheating, you ain't winning.
You ain't trying. If
trying
you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
That's it.
So with Woodley, no, who we're talking about, Usman and Colby, I think it was the same thing. It's just gamesmanship. You playing the game, and I thought that Colby's a great fighter.
Yeah.
As is Woodley, as is Usman, but Usman, is a better striker than him.
Yes.
Both of them have great wrestling, so they're
Hmm.
like, you know what? We're not gonna cancel. We're gonna cancel each other out if we keep this up. So I say, hey,
If they
let's
keep
just
it up, sibling, they didn't even try.
yeah. So they're like, exactly. So it's like, yo, we're not even gonna do this because if we do this, we're gonna get gassed and it's gonna be anybody's game. So let's just stand and bang. And obviously, a lot of things were said. So ego and pride is involved, and that fight represented a lot more than what met the eye in that
Yes,
moment. So
definitely. Because he said some very disrespectful things about his father being in the penitentiary and all that
absolutely,
wild stuff, mate. If that
absolutely.
if that didn't if Mark Goddard, another UK personage, if he didn't stop that fight and that went the 5 rounds, how was you scoring that? Because
Gotta
that shit
go
was
back and
close.
watch. It's been a while. It was a close fight. Gotta go back and watch. But I don't know. I
Yeah.
gotta go see it. I don't remember. I gotta go back and watch it.
I
All I remember is somebody got their jaw broke. That's what I remember.
Well, is that been confirmed? Because they said it was broke on the broadcast and all that, the way he had his mouth and all that, but he was saying,
All right,
no, no.
maybe that wasn't confirmed. Maybe that wasn't confirmed. But what I do remember that was confirmed, somebody ran out the octagon because they didn't want to get interviewed because they was embarrassed. That's what I do remember, and that's fact. I remember
Yeah.
that.
No, it was a. I think at some point that needs to be revisited. If I don't see it happening, to be fair, unless it's for a contendership, because you've got Usman, which should be fighting Gilbert next, as per
Mhm.
Uncle Dana. Leon has to fight the winner of that. If it'll be against the law internationally if that doesn't take place.
Mhm.
Um, so I would like to see. I mean, based upon our discussion and predictions, that should line up Usman and Covington to rematch for the title against Leon Rocky Edwards.
Yeah.
That
Hold,
would
hold
be
on. Hold on. Hold on one sec.
okay.